was knocking. I was knocking on I was 35 when I had my sons. 38 when we had our daughter. So we're not too far off, man. That's cool. That's
Yeah.
that's good. How old's your first?
She's 2.5.
2.5, man.
Yeah.
That's really fun. I don't know, and we're already coming up here, but I'll tell you this real quick. I don't know. I'd love to hear from you at some point in time because I felt like my kids were as because I was aging up, but I felt like my kids were just like a time machine for me. They cranked my clock back, and
Oh,
because I
yeah.
was running and going and keeping up, and that's the way it is now. 'Cause I'll be 51 this year,
Okay.
and I'm at 15 and 13 now with my son and daughter. So it is a whirlwind of events and here and there, and just keeping up with
Yeah.
them. I felt like it kind of wound my clock back a little bit. So I hope you experience the same thing.
Yeah, definitely. They keep you young, as they say, and it's true.
Yeah,
You got to
absolutely.
move.
Yeah, yeah. There's no choice with that. But hey, look, let me tell everybody who I'm talking to. Today's guest, David Forster, founded Define Frameworks, and a master at helping home service businesses escape the chaos of scaling. With over 20 years of experience building, growing, and exiting service companies, David now leads as a fractional COO, helping owners implement operational clarity so their businesses can finally run without them. Man, I love this. I coach business is my passion. That's what I do for work, and I absolutely love your niche and your your approach to it. It seems like you have. Like tons of experience, man, in just that industry. So I was excited just
Yeah.
to learn more from you about how you approach. And when you get into service based and companies like that, a lot of there's a disconnect, right? Generally, it's a solopreneur, and they're if they don't buy into a franchise, they're trying to figure out everything that they can. So, man, I'm really excited to learn from you, David.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you having me on as a guest. Been good conversation so far for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Tell me, like, what's a day in your life look like these days?
yeah. Very different than it did before, right? Like go from farm kid to service entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, really like multiple times over. And now um, just kind of flip the script. I'm serving other business owners. So it's my own business. I run as a contractor to other businesses, right? Kind of like coaching, consulting, but a lot more hands on and in the nitty gritty because it's blue collar trades. That's where I came from, and I just like solving problems. So um, it's different though. The virtual world, I can solve a lot of problems from doing exactly what we're doing right now,
Yeah.
and I get to spend the valuable time with my clients instead of a lot of travel, and that gives me a lot more time to then spend with my little girl and my little boy that's on the way when he gets here. Spend more time with my wife, and honestly, that's why I started building systems in my own companies was because I saw how that was just causing all kinds of chaos in my home life. And so, yeah, I just have
That's yeah,
conversations,
you yeah,
solve
you're spot
problems.
on, man. I think entrepreneurs overlook that, and I'm really quick to point that out. Sometimes is you can go work 80 hours a week for someone else, and you can go fight problems and beat your head against the wall for from everyone else. Why do that in your own company? Why let your own company steal away your time from your family and stuff? And
Yeah,
one of the things that I anchor in when I'm teaching and coaching is as entrepreneurs, it's our job to create as big a pocket of time for ourselves as we can. Create jobs. That's our economic impact for our communities and be an employer and being a problem solver for your clients. But ultimately, our the job is for us to be able to create freedom as
yeah,
entrepreneurs.
yeah, yeah. And I've been having a lot of conversations lately around the definition of freedom. And obviously,
Yeah.
it's different for everybody, right? But what I found is there's so much noise out there about cars and houses and this is and money and this is what success looks like and um, it's hard it's easy to get sucked into that when really the guys that I'm talking to, freedom is just options, right? Like some of them want to scale their business so they can sell it one day. Some of them want to establish it so when they hand it off to their kids, it's something that's actually worth handing off and it's got value and they're not just taking over the chaos. And some of them just want to be able to go on vacation, right? Like just not have all the stuff. And when you wake up in the morning and you realize, like, oh, if I was sick today, it wouldn't matter. If I want to go work on a job site today, I can go do that. Or if I want to go help do something else, I can do that. Like, the options are there, and there's no like anxiety or anything left in it unless you put it there yourself, which can be done.
Yeah,
but
yeah, we can make it up in our head. Yeah, you absolutely right there. I think we probably both guilty of that ourselves. Just making up problems in our head. Just
we want something to solve, and when it goes away, it's just like, well, what problems can I create so I can go solve something? It's like, hey, nope, get out of here.
yeah, yeah. You mentioned too, and I wanted to point this out to folks, like that whole building something for legacy of kids. I see that, and I work in that, but I also see the other side to where kids don't want nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
Like where the kid, where the owner's like, I built all this for my kids. So then just helping them with a continuity plan, finding a buyer or realize showing them that they really have something of tremendous value, because once that their kids didn't want to buy into it or wanted to continue it, it lost its worth to the owner. And there's like, yeah, I'm going to retire and shut the doors. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. You've got a lot of value here, and then things that you can sell as a business owner. So helping
yeah,
them find clarity with that sometimes I think is key as well.
yeah. And that's where those options come in, right? Like, things change. Tomorrow's going to be different, right? And if your kids decide they don't want anything to do with it, now you have an asset that you can sell and still support them in what they do want to do, financially or however you want to use those resources. And but what if you wake up one day and there's some major event in your life, whether a family member or you gets sick or has an injury or something,
Kid
and
on the way at 42.
yeah, and you you end up with just all of that load of stress for your family or for yourself. And if you can wake up in the morning and know that if that happened, if that life event happened, it would just be make a phone call. There's a couple options already that somebody that wants to buy it. If I need the resources, or it's time that if I stick around, it's just going to go downhill. Then you have that option. You don't have to. You don't have to exercise it, and hopefully you don't if you don't want to. But it's always there, and that's the amazing thing about a systemized business that runs.
Yeah.
Is,
Now you're operates. I'll have a lot of people bring up the E-Myth. Oh, I've been reading the E-Myth, Jeff. So I'm like, yeah, but are you executing on the E-Myth? It's easy to read. It's a great read,
yeah,
but are you at the point to where you can execute on the strategies and plans? And most time that's a break that they have to pump. Right? It's because, oh well, I read it, and I got the theories, and um, you bring out a good point. I always use. I told this kid years ago. He came in. I was when I was W-2, and he came in, and he laid out his plan. And I had just where I had just had my son, and I started this wall beside me, because that was kind of my motivation. When I'd go into work, I was kind of running the operations by then, and I had. I had his pictures from birth, and then my wife would give me a picture or whatever, and I just started right where I would sit along my wall. I had just pictures, and I would tape them to the wall as that wall. So that wall was growing really big. And he came in. He was like, Jeff, I'm going to do this, man. I got this. I'm going to be right here. I'm doing this, and I'm like, yeah, man, we can do it. I'll help you. Just let's draw it out. And he went through his whole thing, and I told him he was getting ready to get up, and I go, hey, I need you forgot something. He's like, what did I forget? I said, you got a great plan, but you forgot one thing to plan for. And he said, what's that? And I pointed at my wall, and I said, life. I said, because life's going to happen whether you want life to happen or not. I said,
yeah,
I can just tell you right now, if I had my son had to come along, I probably wouldn't be sitting in this seat. I'd be somewhere else doing whatever, and chasing whatever next thing that was coming along. I said, the life came along, and here I am. So I said, so make sure you factor a little bit of life's plans and be able to adjust, like what you could probably help people do a lot, is be able to adjust your plans based on life, death, birth, whatever it might be. That's medical, things that come along that try to knock you out of your game and disrupt. And working with someone like you that puts good systems and processes in place, man, that's a game changer for a business owner.
it can be. And that's like, when I realized it for myself and realized kind of what I was doing, I didn't even realize this is what I did. Like, for
Yeah.
so long, I had friends that were like, had mentioned that I was what I was good at, and I had never really dialed it in. And I was always just a serial entrepreneur in my head. I'm just going to go do this thing. I got a big vision. I'm going to go tackle the world. Right. And when I like realized this is the thing that I like would bury myself in when I didn't want to do something else, that's when I started really going, oh, hold on a second. Like maybe I need to pay attention a little bit over here and actually realize like what I did for this previous business can be applied to my current business and start mixing those things together. And that's when things got fun. Um,
Yeah.
and that's when my wife enjoyed working with me again. We've almost always worked together, but we've had those seasons where we actually sold our one of our early businesses just strictly off of she was miserable and I was pushing too hard, So
Where's that? What I like? All right, you're a pretty smart guy. I like that. I like. I can't wait to have her on because I want to hear her side. Um, but how do you? How does? How do you get to the point to where you're pushing hard and she's miserable? Is it chasing dollars,
um,
or too much going on, David?
yeah, it was just chaos, man. Like I was doing, um, it was one of our early businesses. I was like in my early 20s. Um, wasn't really thinking about long term and like systems and stuff like that. So I was just trying to tackle everything I possibly could to grow as fast as possible. And so I was doing what a lot of guys do. I was doing bids and designs and stuff at night, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, sitting on the couch with my phone, answering emails, and she's sitting next to me. And I thought, well, this is quality time. We're here together, right?
Yeah.
And that was not the same for her, right? We had just gotten married too. We'd only been married a couple of years. So the first few years of our marriage was me building this business that was growing and customers loved us and we were building out a team and making decent money. And especially at that age, we felt like, and just all this stuff. And then one day in the middle of the winter, I had a dream one night. It was like in January, I had a dream and God said in the dream, God told me to put it down. And I was like, I woke up. I'm like, what does that even mean? So I told her, and she was like, "Oh, thank God." I was like, "What?" She said, I told God a few weeks ago he had to tell you because I wasn't bringing that up." And I'm like, "Wow, okay, maybe you know how to pray better than I do because he answered it quick." And we ended up just going through the whole process of that was our first real business sale. We didn't use a
Yeah.
broker, but like assets, equipment, customers, all that stuff, and ugh.
Do you think, I don't want to put words in her mouth by no means, but looking back on that, would you say that she probably, being the wife and being kind of employee of the business, do you think she was suffering in silence when she probably, you could have, or is she speaking up? Because I ran into this where my wife has been speaking up before, is going in, coming out, and then I'll hear you say it, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what we need to be doing right there. And she's like, dude, I've been freaking telling you this. God speaking to you is a little differently. Um, but do you
She
think maybe that was just to speak to that for that wife who might be sitting where she's at right now?
Yeah. Man, she was doing everything she could to um, honor me and support me and love me through this whole thing. So without like smashing my dreams, but she was trying to tell me, but without like, you know what I mean, like just coming
Yeah.
out and being like, we're gonna do. Like she wasn't mad about it at all. I mean, she was just praying about it, just asking God to do the right thing, and to open my eyes to seeing some stuff. And when I look back, like honestly, man, I remember like a handful of months where in early on, like I would hear her crying at night, laying there in bed. I didn't know what to do. I was just laying there awake, hearing my wife crying, thinking like, how do I fix this? Like it was just frustrating. I didn't know at that time that it was really fed by my personality and what I was doing in the business, and really like the business was my marriage at that time, and she was just kind of like this side thing, right? That's kind of really what it was. And so looking back on it, there was plenty of signs. I was just kind of oblivious and just didn't know what to do with them as a young newlywed guy that just didn't have that experience. So
That's we don't know what we don't know. But man, I tell you what, kudos to you for figuring it out.
well, and
That's
I love her so much for the way that she went about it, and not just being belligerent and mean and just saying what she wanted. She was trying to just support me and just help me support me in the dream that I was trying to build. So um, so many kudos to her for doing that. So
I see that happens. Like that comes into my world. I have folks that that comes along. And I that's one of the things I'll pick up on. I'm like, man, you got a killer business, but you don't ever see your kids. Like, oh yeah, Jeff, that's what we do, man. 20-hour days, and I'll sleep in the office sometimes and get it done. And I go, yeah, man, but your kids don't know you. When's the last time you went to a ball game? Yeah, well, I'm trying to build this, that, and the other. And I go, yeah, but and then I go to pulling back layers, right? And I'm one of those. I came out of EMS and police, and I was around medical, and me and I was talking to a guy the other night on my podcast about we treat the problem with a pill, not the underlying solution. So I really make all the effort I can to dig into it. And most of the time it can get down in the weeds to the point of, hey, me and my wife just, I don't date my wife no more, right? It's very transactional. And so it's a matter of recovering and going back into those phases of like, hey, it's all right, man. You changed once, you changed twice. Look, we can change this now. And if this is something you want, because here's the repercussions of this is it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, that guy that's got the business that he wants his kids to take over. And I go, your kids aren't going to take over a business that takes them away from their families the way it took you away from them.
Yeah.
Man, and so like really, and then listen, you're sitting there on the same side trying taking your own medicine as a 25-year-old, right? And you're way more seasoned now. It's an easy conversation for you, but back then, man, you're probably just like me. We're just as thick-headed as we come.
Yeah. I mean, I can still remember sitting on the couch talking about it and trying to figure out how we were going to do that. And um, just walking through that whole process. I mean, we had a contract in place. We were going to close at the bank. That guy called me that morning and said, "Hey, man, I can't do it. It's too big of a jump." I'm like, "What are you talking about? You had all this stuff in place, blah, well, some of that fell through, blah, blah." And I just told him, I'm like, okay, like, I don't want you to lose your house and damage your marriage over this thing if it's not going to work out. Like, that's not my whole point. I'm not trying to like make anybody else like, I love what we do. I just, maybe this was just a test. Maybe God was just testing me to see if I would. Right. And so that contract fell through, which we were glad for because there was some language in there about some like intellectual property and stuff that I'm glad we didn't end up getting like tied into. But the next process was finding another buyer and going through all of that, and it was a great learning process. And from that, like that's when we really just started. Everything we did from then on had to have a plan and boundaries, guardrails, systems, and we didn't get it perfect. I mean, it's been almost, almost 17 years now, and it just keeps getting better. It's just a living thing that you just continue to improve on, and your life changes, and you have to shift and adapt. And that's
Yeah, you've said something that I hope it comes up every now and then. Oh yeah, Jeff just wants to be perfect before I get it out there. And I go, whoa, 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 they ain't no, it will. If that's where you're going, it's going to. I'm telling you, you're going to end fast. They're like, what do you mean? It's got like, cause it's never perfect.
yeah,
You can always make it better. And
that's
you
what
when
makes it
you
better.
when you
Yeah,
start in business, it's you got what you got, right? You might start with this, but it's up to you. And then you're going to start plugging little holes because the way you think it should flow may not match what the world wants. And
right.
you're going to have to adapt to that. And by the time, like what you just said, man, by the time you get to the point to where you sell your business, you may have evolved thousands of times just to as the market changes, as your people changes, as economics change, as
Yeah,
as as you want to grow and or you want to downsize, right? So it's never. I think as much. I love the idea of high standards. I think every business should always strive for high standards and strive for being the best in their industry. But um, when I think when we're all get a little dirt thrown on us and we're sitting around, it's going to be like, man, the guy he strived for perfection, but he never really got it, right? He always kept growing and he always kept learning. And I think that's probably the better term now.
yeah.
Um,
There's always, I mean, as perfect as you can have it planned out,
yeah,
like something's going to be different. Like you said earlier, like life's going to come at you whether you want it to or not, and you don't know. Like for the trades, especially for outdoor trades, which is a lot of my specialty stuff. Um, like the weather. Like you could have the
Yes.
most perfect budget, the most perfect schedule, marketing, like all this stuff. And then 2025 comes along and it's like, could it quit freaking raining? Like
Yeah.
seriously, like I don't, and it's not like a regional, it's everywhere. Like I have people I talk to all over the US that it's just like they haven't been able to mow or dig or build much of anything on a regular basis because it's just nasty. So,
I sold, and I still work around the trailer industry, but I sold enclosed and open trailers for years.
oh, okay.
So that we're 100% supportive of service businesses and our efforts, right?
Yeah.
To speak to what you talked about was like, by the time I was in, I worked there, I worked in sales directly for 10 years. And by the time I was in my at least fifth, sixth year, I worked, my mind works a little bit like yours. Like if there was a problem that had messed something up, I had a system in place to make sure that didn't happen again.
Yep.
And man, I had production, I had all these things that if you called and you ordered something and you're like, Jeff, I gotta have it by this date, I'm like, I can do this. You got to get the order in now. This is why, right? And I was just straight shooter as I could be. This is what I'm up against. And I remember the first year, just like what you're talking about, to where it snowed from Indiana to Georgia every freaking week as hard as it could. And the weather, it disrupted our transportation. And everything that I could control and had controlled went out the window, just because of the snow and the weather, and it just was not something you could plan for because you can't move. Can't move, you can't move. So
Yeah.
that was a disruptor that came along and was my curveball to where then I had to get ahead of when I would sell. So I'm like, listen, I got everything under control here except one thing. And they'd be like, what's that? And I said, the weather. And I said, if the weather hits, here's the drill. You just got to, you're going to get mad at me, but you're going to have to be mad. Is all I can tell you because I cannot do nothing about the weather.
Yeah.
Um,
That didn't happen to be 2011, did it?
Probably, yeah. Yeah, I mean that was one of them. Yeah, that would have been a year because you're in. We used to I ship trailers Midwest out of Indiana, so I would send race trailers out to into Indiana, out of into Iowa out of Indiana. Is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, that would have been absolutely what. And then for us, it was crazy. But you mentioned something, and I want to speak to those folks that are founders themselves, like what the lessons about the partnership with your wife.
Yeah.
Um, uh, what's that lesson that you wish more folks that are journeying the way that you two journey, what do you think they should understand about each other, about the businesses, or anything that you're like, hey, make sure if you're going to do this together, this is something you have to be aware of. Do you have anything like that?
Yeah, it's know your lane, know your role, like set those boundaries there too, just like you would with a business partner, just like you would with an employee, that you should anyway. Um, like understanding who's going to take care of what. I remember we had a business that our team, it was actually a bike shop. We had a retail bike shop for a while, and we got kind of mixed up in that where I was trying to step back from some things, and she was trying to step into it and kind of the HR and admin side of things, instead of being so mixed. And so it's like, okay, so we thought we were getting more defined, and what ended up happening was we didn't define it well enough when we defined it. So there was still like some real foggy area for the team. And so they didn't know who to go to, right? They would go to her for something because I told them like, hey, she has authority over this, like so you can ask her, but I didn't make it clear enough what. And so they would go to her and ask questions if I was busy, and she would give the best answer she knew how to give, and it would be like completely opposite wrong answer because it's not her expertise and we think so different. And so then I'd have to go fix it, or vice versa. I would tell them like, yeah, just fill this out or whatever. Like I don't want to mess with the paperwork of it. And they would do something, and she's like, you only gave me like half of what I needed, or you did it completely wrong, or whatever. So defining like who's that lane, and don't mess with it. Like don't get in between. Make sure you're communicating like what that looks like, and yeah, that's the
I
thing.
worked with an owner. I worked for a husband and wife combo one time, and similar. They did really good job. But right now, I have people that work with me fill out an operating agreement. If you're gonna go into if your husband and wife whatever, just like you don't have to worry about what's going to happen to the money. That doesn't bother me. Like if me and you were starting a partnership, we need to really establish money, and if I die, you die type thing. I said, husband and wife, if you, it doesn't, it's, it's not as big a deal, but if you don't define your roles, you're going to hit that friction point to what you just said. And that leans into the other part I would add outside of husband and wife as a business is growing. You take service based business, who's getting ready to hire their first number two, or they're getting ready to bring somebody in who kind of helps take that load off of them, is being able to relinquish some of your control. And that was something I ran into to where um, it was not clear on who was in charge sometimes and the roles. So that's a really great point for even for the folks that aren't in business with their spouse, is knowing that you still have to, even if you're getting ready to hire a leader in or what have you, is making sure you establish those roles, because if not, man, it's chaos and it leads
And
to all sorts of circus type events.
once you establish it, respect it. Like we're so good as owners and founders of like, well, that's the rules, but I made the rules, so I can bend them, I can break them, I can cross the line, and you end up stepping on toes, and people don't like that. You hire somebody for a leadership position, and then you just butt in and say, no, I don't want it done that way. Hey, I know he told you to do that, but just do it this way because that's what I want. Rather than like stepping back and saying, okay, wait, that means I need to talk with my guy. Let's make some adjustments. Let's see why he decided this was this way, and respecting that authority that you've delegated. I messed that up like I can't even count how many times.
Yeah.
Like hire great guys in that have tons of skill, and it's done slightly different. So I butt in and I'm like, no, I don't want it done that way. And it's just that doesn't work. That backfires. You don't have good relations. Like you're not honoring the system that you put in place. So same thing with your spouse. Like just it's all that working relationship, respect, boundaries, clear roles. Yeah.
How do you keep it out of the breakfast table, or do you?
Right.
How do you keep it out of the dinner table, or do you? How do you, spouse or the nice thing. Me and my wife works with me a little bit on different things, but it's not a disruptor. We're not in it all the time, but like that, That's just something we could speak to here to help folks navigate that. And it's hard to say. You have those friction points at work or what have you in the shop, but you got to go home with that person. How do you lead through maybe some downtime where there's been some friction on the job site or what have you, and to keep it from coming in and disrupting your house?
I tell you what, everybody's going to be different, right? So um, try something, but just have grace for it. So
Yeah.
what works for us is we try to like 7 p.m. And some of this was like prior to kids too. So like
Yep.
it's all evolving now. But like 7 p.m. we try to just like, all right, after 7, like we're done. Like now it's just us and like life, and no more business talk, no more. And she has always had tons of grace for me in those moments, and she'll mention it like, hey, 7:30, like can we cut this off? And if I'm coming in hot from just a rough day, I just know like, okay, what do I need to do to like get my mind right? Do I need to just do 100 push-ups real quick? Do I need to go for a walk around the block before? Like, do I sit in my truck for 10 minutes before I come in? Like, I just got to get my head in a space where I know, okay, I'm bringing my A game to being husband and dad, not my F game from ticked off
Yep.
business owner that just had a rough, whether it was a customer or an employee or whatever it might have been. We just hit a utility and like, oh god, the world's ending. Whatever could have just happened, like just take a deep breath and just know what your process is going to work for. You know, now like it changes with seasons, like I said, with kids and with different businesses for us, but um, we really just love what we're doing, and we talk about it in and out, and we don't feel like we have to like bottleneck it into a certain time frame, and that works for us so that we don't feel restricted like, oh, I only got to talk about it for 10 minutes. Now what do I do with this? I'm holding it until tomorrow when I can talk about it. And so then your family time is just really because you're just like totally locked into this thing. So we've had grace for each other in those moments.
I think that's a healthy marriage too, right? Just I if you got to argue about it, which I don't, man, I think it's been a long time since I argued. Um, I grew up, right. I don't feel I didn't process relationships well at an earlier age. Now I grew up and I understand, like, the argument doesn't have to last for days. You speak your piece, I speak mine. You're frustrated. Whoa, hold on here. Hang on. I didn't realize that, or somebody's taking ownership, or we might share the ownership and a misunderstanding or what have you. But that's it. We're done. I'm not. Ain't bringing this crap up. This ain't going to continue on. It's we got more air to breathe, and it's life goes on. There's no reason to keep going down the rabbit hole of hey, you stepped on, talk to me wrong in front of somebody, or this, or too assertive at the moment. I, dude, that's really good. I hope, man, I really, really hope, because I know just a lot of folks that are in business with their spouse. Spouse runs the office, office or vice versa, and it's those are really great points to make to help drive that home. But when you're going into a business, and I love the way you say you don't need more hustle, you need more systems. And that was something that we worked on really hard. I didn't realize I was doing it until I kind of got out of the W-2 I was in and on my own. But if we couldn't if we couldn't figure out a system to put at it, we thought really hard before we put a person in it, right? If we like, how can we automate it, systematize it? How can we do one or the other before we would even look at a person? You don't need more hustle, you need more systems. What what's that first system that the business owner should fix? Or if you don't have it always depends maybe, but if you have some recent stories or whatever that can help somebody get out of that day-to-day grind, is there a system that you'd like to turn the screws on first?
Yes, and I'm learning more and more. Like the more I get to work with different industries and different stuff, different individuals. But um, so often, like especially in the trades, it's we're a really good technician or craftsman that uh, decided to go do our own thing. Like in the E-Myth, he says he had an entrepreneurial seizure, right? And you're like, I'm going to do this thing, and then you're like, oh crap, what have I done? So you're growing this business, you get busy because you provide amazing service, you're a great technician, you've got a few of those extra skills, people skills, stuff like that. Now all of a sudden you got a team of 15 people, and you're like, I don't even like people, I just like doing my craft. Like, what happened? Where did this all come from? And then all of a sudden, what society and social media and everybody's telling you is you need to get out of the field, get out of the field as fast as possible. You need to start working on the business instead of in the business. And it's like, well, maybe you're not good at that. Okay. Just that's the first thing that I want to evaluate is you maybe shouldn't be the one working on the business. Maybe you should be the one working in the business, providing that amazing technical expertise and training the team to do that as well. And we all try to get out of there as fast as possible because we want the white collar cushiness of what comes with that, right? So I really say evaluate where your skill is. Where do you bring the most value to the company? And then the first system you put in place is how do I train that? How do I duplicate that? So that if you do want to back out, you can. But one of the first things you should be delegating is all the stuff that's kind of low hanging fruit that you're not good at and you shouldn't be doing anyway, which is emails, calendar, answering the phone, like that kind of stuff. So if you can get a part time virtual assistant, something like that, so that you can focus, you're just like put the blinders on and focus on building those systems around what makes you a fantastic technician. Why does everybody love you? What are the questions you ask yourself? How do you communicate that to your team? How do you help them problem solve and start to have common sense? Those are the first. That's what I find in the trades is we're a lot of technicians that are really good at being technicians.
Yeah.
Stay there as long as you can until you feel like instead of everybody I hire just messes, my quality goes down when I delegate. Like, it's because you haven't done it. You haven't got it all in place yet. So stay there and delegate the stuff that's a little more pre-built. Like,
Yeah, I've told two. I've got two stories I'll tell you on that. There's one where I've told someone, I'm like, you don't need to be the front. Your money will go up if you stop being the front facing person of your business. Like, what's that supposed to mean? I'm like, you don't
Not
have the
saying
people
that.
personality. You're great. You need me over there. You don't stop talking to people because he's like my reviews are off or whatever. And I go, you do great work. It's just you don't have to talk to people. And there's a lot of technicians that are. I don't want to be around people. I want to work with my hands. And the other one was I had someone I can't remember. I think the guy was telling me the story. Maybe it was the sales guy. Sales guy went on a job site. Was like, I'm here to see the owner, and the guy was, and whoever he was talking to went and got this other person. They go, hey, can I help you? And he should, and he goes, yeah, I'm supposed to be meeting with the owner, and he goes, oh yeah, that'll be me today. And it was like, I'm Tom, I'm the owner's right hand guy. And he goes, well, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to meet with the owner, and he goes, you don't get it. The owner's inside pulling cable. That's what he likes to do. He hired me to do all the owner things. So the owner, and I finally got to meet him, and he's like, I love what I do. Like he said, I get up every morning excited to go work on electrical, pull cable, do other things. He says that is my favorite part of getting done is just working with my hands and doing all that stuff. He said I absolutely hate everything I hired him to do. Right.
Mhm.
So he acted as the owner of the company, and he was like, he says that guy sets my schedule. He sets everybody else's schedule, including mine. Tells me where I'm supposed to be, what job I'm working on. And he said once a week we get together and he debriefs me on the ownership of the company and what I need to know from that side of it, which is
Yeah.
freaking awesome.
Yeah. And it's, man, I tell you what, there's such a gut check, ego, humility thing that has to go through to get there. Um, because that's why we started the bit. We wanted the control and we kind of wanted the title, right?
Yeah,
Like I'm a business owner, I'm a small business owner, I'm an entrepreneur. And um, when you kind of let it really sink in, you really start to grow and you don't care who gets the credit. Like you make a
yeah,
lot when you don't care. Like once that can really sink into what that means, it's like the vision you have for the business of what you really want it to be. As soon as you can let go of you being the answer and the control of that, the faster you're going to have it.
uh,
And
and hey, add in one more for me that you unlearn is hustle. How do you? Because we always think that hustle goes right in there with I'm the owner of this. I'm going. Hey, only I can get it done. How do you unlearn that? How do you teach your folks to unlearn that hustle mindset? I'm
little
guilty. I'm a
wins.
recover.
Yeah. I mean, it's I'm still teaching myself, right? Just
Yeah,
you get caught up in that because you're a doer. You just like to do and solve and be in the midst of it. And depending on your personality too, there's a little bit of that hero complex that comes in. So
yeah,
I had I'm still I'm not like a complete recovered of of this, but you kind of get that feeling of like, well, if I'm not there to do that thing, then where's my value? Like if my team doesn't need me, if they don't have questions for me and they can do everything and the business can run without me, like what am I valuable for? It's like, well, you had the vision to get it all there and you put it all in place and you provided the opportunities and we can go on a whole list of where the value comes from. And then the questions you're answering are just such a higher level. So it's getting them a few of those little wins to see that,
yeah.
to see it working. Because it's hard to believe that your team can do anything without you when you've been in the mix for so long and you get 100 text messages a day asking you what to do next and you want to pull your hair. My team doesn't know how to. It's like, well, you haven't let them, so
Yeah.
let's empower them a little bit. Let's give them an experiment and not just like turn them loose, but like let's try it. Let's just see what happens. And
Let's
maybe it'll
train
work.
them, right?
Train
Yeah.
them.
I've had that a similar thing to where I've had to stop and say you don't have you have an amazing team. You've got a training and development problem. Because if they're calling you asking you what to do, they don't feel empowered, and maybe and he's like, well, this was a welding crew, and he was like, they just don't do it like I would do it. I go, show them your way. Don't they can't go to the next level in your company until they can get down your way of doing things because on a job site they're you the people your company's who's held accountable, so don't they should not be out working a job site if they can't duplicate what your way is. And he's like, well, like if you don't show them, he goes, well, if I train them they'll leave. And I said, if you don't they'll stay.
I love that.
Right? If you don't,
Yeah,
if we don't train them, they'll stay, and then I can tell you what's going to happen then. You're going to end up with less money in your pocket and a bunch of knuckleheads, and you're going to have to do everything. And why would you have staff if you got to do everything?
right. Yeah, checklists, SOPs, standard operating procedure. If you don't, use that lingo. Just
You also help. You also help some of those owners avoid burnout because they are trying to do that too fast. Is this kind of hand in hand with your helping owners avoid burnout? Is that kind of or do you have a different strategy or different box that you kind of look at for that?
um, I mean, we just evaluate where they're at and attack the things that are the immediate problems, right? Like sometimes people ask that we're not going to work with them, it's not the right time or whatever, but they just want to know like, well, where do I even start? And it's like, well, next time you say like, I've already told you this 100 times, like that one, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Or you got your phone and somebody just, and you want to throw your phone against the wall. Like, okay, what caused that thought? Like, why did you get so frustrated? What is the repeating thing that's causing that to build up? Like, just take 10 minutes and just walk through in your mind and write down like the 10 steps or the 5 questions that you ask yourself when that or whatever that you can show somebody else and say, hey, next time this comes up, will you do this for me? And it just starts to lighten that load. That's where we start. So if something, it doesn't matter if I come in and you don't have an org chart and you don't have any role descriptions and you don't have, like, we need to start there at some point. But if there's something right now that is a colossal problem for your team, that this type of service is completely getting done wrong and it's destroying your customer or your customer experience, we need to fix that one. Let's get that
Yeah.
one fixed, right? So everybody's a little different.
I saved this question for last. I wrote it down on one I wanted to ask you because I think it's important. I want to kind of, because I always like ending with, when we talk about money, right? And then I wanted to know what is that process that's breaking down like slowly and dripping, that's quietly draining profit or team trust in most service businesses. Is there anything that you'd say that stands out that you like, hey, this is what how I fix that, or these are the things that I deploy, or if you got anything like that, just to help that. Because I think what I'd love to do, David, because I want after we get done, I want you to tell people how you can get in touch with. But I think it's really good to tee us up for the exit is just for you to kind of because a lot of folks don't realize how much money is going out the door accidentally.
Yeah. I mean, it's twofold for me. One of the things that stands out the most is organization. Like, if you're running more than 2 or 3 trucks and any of them look different, like, then you have no consistency, right? Your team's all doing it different. If their truck is laid out different, their van, whatever you're using. So if you're a plumber or HVAC tech and you've got certain parts that are always there, garage door tech, like any of that stuff should be dialed in. Like you're carrying the same inventory, the same tools, and the same stuff on every one of these vehicles that performs the same family of services. And your warehouse should be structured very, whatever storage you use, if it's a storage unit or if it's a big warehouse, doesn't matter. Organize that bad boy so that everybody's grabbing the same stuff and it's always there and you're never on a job. I don't know how many times I've been working on an irrigation system and thought I had a certain elbow or a certain coupler or something, and I get in there and I'm like, and who got in here before me, blah blah blah, and just get frustrated. So making sure that all that's everybody's using the same stuff, calling it the same thing. Like your vehicles are causing way more downtime than you really think. Your load time in the morning, job site digging through trying to find the right tool, just and we were able to, even just with a mowing crew, trimming off about 60 seconds per stop for a residential mowing crew adds about 20 minutes a day.
Yeah.
So if you unload the mower different or put the weed eater in the right spot, like you could just 60 seconds, boom, just 1 or 2 little changes. If you had 20 minutes a day, that's an extra stop or 2 per day. So if you're at like say $40-$50 a yard, say $50 a yard for easy, that's a $50 to $100 a day. So there's $500 a week over 32 mows, 32 weeks a year. You got $16,000 you just threw in your pocket for organizing your truck a little better. And that's
Yeah.
every truck, not all the trucks. That's on one. So that's where I see a lot of leak happening. To solidify that, it's accountability. That's the other fold. Holding people accountable to this is how we do it. I know
Yeah.
you don't, this may not be the way you would do it, and it may not be perfect, but this is how we're going to do it. Just to track that consistency and accountability. So
We named it at the gym. I was a franchise gym owner, Fit Body Boot Camp, and we called that the Fit Body Way. Just hey, you probably worked a lot of jobs and sat down, and we're going to show you the Fit Body Way. And we onboarded us a particular way. We had particular questions, and I think I teach a lot of businesses now to say like, Tom's Plumbing, right? It's Tom's Plumbing's way. We're going to teach them the Tom Plumbing way of doing things, and that because I think to speak to that as we wrap up, David, what we assume as owners sometimes where you've developed, you got all the pieces in place. You a lot of times we assume that the employees that are going to come in or support us and be part of our team are just as well oiled or squared away. And a lot of them are looking for structure and they're looking for organization and they're there, because they may have their home life as a little disorganized and out of shape. And if you can present a better way for them, it trickles down and makes them better people, I think.
yeah,
I just think it
I agree.
helps. You don't have to OCD about it by no means, but like I came out of EMS. Things are on a fire truck and an ambulance for a certain reason. They're there because of accessibility, and they park a certain way for that reason.
Yeah,
And whoever's in those seats have a particular job when they roll off. Everybody's in that. Everything's very deliberate and drawn out. So I know exactly what you're meaning by that.
yeah.
With that setup. Real quick, tell us who is that ideal client that you'd love to get on your website and schedule a call with you or whatever that might look like. Tell us who your ideal client is and how you want them to get in touch with you. And as we wrap up here,
Yeah. Ideal client's going to be somebody in a service business that's probably in that 1 to 5 million range. But if you've got more than 5 trucks on the road, um, then that's a definite place where we can have a huge impact on the efficiency. And if just you've been pulling your hair out long enough and you've got young kids or you're watching your kids grow up way too fast and you haven't been as much involved in that as you wanted to be, those are two different motivations. Profitability is one thing, but having the time as well is another thing. And so when you're looking for both of those things, I can really step in and help a lot. Best place to find me, systemsoversweat.com is the website. And I've got my calendar link on there where you can book a strategy call. We can go through and talk about a couple systems that you can implement right there on the call. And if it works and it sounds good, we can always look at doing more.
man, I can't thank you enough. Great conversation.
Yeah.
Can't thank you enough for being with us today. I hope as you grow and whatever, I hope you reach back out. Let's get you back on here. Or
Yeah.
I love it when people come back with a good case study to where we break it down. Like, hey, here's the problem. Here's how we solved it. Because I think sometimes is I've been in a situation before where I heard somebody describing their problem and I was like, are they talking about me right now? And it hit me really hard. And I was like, I need to call this guy because I have the same thing. So
Yeah.
you're welcome back anytime, man. Anything that I can do to support you, make sure you reach out. And I
I
can't
appreciate it.
wait. You'll at some point in time we'll get the wife on, and she can share her side of
Barrel full of value on some different perspectives from that
yeah.
not not the traditional entrepreneur mindset. So yeah.
Yeah, and the last time I offered that up, the lady said, "We just got to fix it where he can't hear, because I'm going to let him have it." Man, thank you, brother. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah. Thank you.